No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Really had to split the hairs on this one, Mr. Singleton. From August 21st, 2024 to December 4th, 2024, which were the dates of Michael Fasusi and Jet News commitments, respectively, Oklahoma had a drought that lasted 105 days. From January 28th, 2025 to May 13th, 2025, the dates of Daniel Odom's and Niko Jandreau's commitments, respectively, the Sooners had a commitment drought that lasted 105 days.
I don't like this pattern.
Well, let's not call it a pattern just yet. There were a few that came down between those two. But Oklahoma's commitment drought is officially over, and it is the longest drought of the Venables era, because as I thought about it and I thought back to when it was on those days that Fasusi and New committed to Oklahoma. Fasusi committed on the afternoon of August 21st. New committed in the morning of December 4th, so slightly less than 105 days. Meanwhile,
what are you doing?
Meanwhile, Daniel Odom committed in the early afternoon on January 28th, and Niko Jandreau committed in the evening of May 13th, so slightly more than 105 days. So it is officially the longest drought of the Venables era to date without a commitment. But it is now over after three-star safety Niko Jandreau out of Chandler, Arizona, Hamilton High School, announced his pledge to the Sooners yesterday. And it was really cool how he did it. Not how he announced publicly, but how he committed. Now, he had decided upon Oklahoma about 2-3 weeks ago. Brandon Hall and Nate Dreiling had been down there in Arizona to have dinner with him and his family, and he said it was that night that he realized he wanted to be an Oklahoma Sooner. However, he waited to inform his future position coach, Brandon Hall, that he was going to be committing to Oklahoma until yesterday, when Hall made another trip down to Arizona. And they captured it on video the moment that Jandreau let Brandon Hall know that he was coming home to Oklahoma. It's hilarious. Brandon Hall's just a funny guy in general, but the way that he receives the news from Niko Jandreau, you can tell if you watch the video, he genuinely does not believe him for quite a while.
Yep.
He's like, shut up. You serious? You liar. And then finally, like, Dad, I guess, in the background, I assume it's Dad there in the background, has to, like, confirm to B. Hall, no, he's serious. Like, he's ready to commit to Oklahoma. And so fun announcement, or a fun commitment for Niko Jandreau, followed very quickly by a public announcement. And he is the very first defensive pledge of the 2026 recruiting cycle for Oklahoma. Took him long enough, Grayson, but Brent Venables' unit is on the board.
There you go. And the rain has come. The famine is over. Okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch. But here's what I really love about this with Niko. Boy, is this such a great scheme fit, man. It is a really good scheme fit because obviously he's naturally a safety. I tweeted this out last night. He obviously is naturally a safety, but he possesses so much versatility, especially with the way he can cover, that he can play cheetah. He is a perfect, picturesque cheetah in Brent Venables' system. Now, is he the physical specimen that Isaiah Simmons was? No. He's not that. But in terms of his physicality downhill, the way he can come in and play in the box and stop the run, and he's really good in space and coverage, it's perfect. It is a perfect marriage for these two to be together, and good on the Sooners for getting ahead of this and locking this down.
Now, Niko Jandreau, again, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, going to play safety, but has versatility for Oklahoma. You may see him at Cheetah. They plan to move him around a little bit, so we'll see what he morphs into when he arrives. But I think the immediate question that so many people had last night when they saw Niko Jandreau's announcement was, well, what of his brother, right? Niko's twin brother, Bo, a very highly coveted, high 3-star linebacker in the 2026 class. They're twins, and Bo did not commit to Oklahoma on the same timetable that Niko did. He has not, as of yet, committed to Oklahoma. That came as a surprise to some folks. But in kind of digging around on it, seeing why it was that the brothers didn't commit in tandem, it became apparent that they both wanted to have their moment as individuals. So regardless of where they ended up committing, they wanted to be able to decide independently of one another on their own timetables and make their announcements independently of one another on their own timetables. Is it a rock-solid guarantee that Bo Jandreau is an Oklahoma Sooner? No. But is it an overwhelming likelihood at this point that he is following his twin brother to the University of Oklahoma? Absolutely it is, Grayson. It would be very surprising if Bo Jandreau isn't in this class eventually.
I mean, and Oregon's still sniffing around with Bo Jandreau.
As is Texas.
As is Texas as well. But, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I don't see the Twins splitting up. I think the fact that they're going for more individuality gives more credence to the fact that they're not going to be splitting up. I think they just want to be their own version of an Oklahoma Sooner. So I think you're going to have both. It would come as a catastrophic shock if Bo Jandreau is not committing to Oklahoma on whenever his timetable says so.
Chris from Knoxville on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439, says, in his recruit picture, Niko Jandreau's neck be thick. Yeah, he and his brother both.
They're some big kids.
Incredibly physically developed. Well, I don't know who their trainer is. I don't know what program they're on. But
I would like to be on it.
No joke, man, because you look at pictures of them from last winter, year and a half ago, man, they just they look like your run-of-the-mill high school football players. Like guys that, you can tell they play football, but you might not mistake them for Division I Power 4 prospects if you didn't know any better. And in that time, whatever organization they work out with posted like the before and after pictures a while back of how much they've gained, how much mass they've put on muscle-wise since they started the regiment. Dude, they are muscled up, both of them. And obviously Bo is a little bit thicker than Niko, weighs a little bit more. He's going to play linebacker at the next level. Niko is a defensive back. Bo is more of that true linebacker. But Oklahoma getting really, really close here. I think with I'd be surprised if he doesn't commit before his Oklahoma OV on June 20th. Maybe he just wants to make the most of the process and he takes all his OVs. But I also think if you're another school right now that's actively recruiting Bo Jandreau, because you saw him post a picture with Oregon, but those Oregon coaches dropped by yesterday before the OU coaches did and before Niko Jandreau committed to OU. So, at this point, knowing what you know about the family dynamic, and if you've recruited those kids, either of them, you've done your homework. Knowing what you know about the family dynamic and the relationship that those two have, if you're another school that's actively recruiting Bo Jandreau right now, might you just be at the point where you say, okay, this is clearly not going in our favor. They're going to stay together. They're going to be Sooners. We might as well just not even bring him in on an OV.
I mean, at this point, I don't think you cross him off the board and not bring him in for an OV, but you start kicking the tires on those contingency plans. I'll tell you that right now. You're definitely going to do that. I mean, there is a very, very minute possibility that those two split up. I mean, I would go to Plan B.
It is next to a 0% chance. And the only official visit that Niko took outside of his Champ U barbecue official to Oklahoma that is scheduled for June 20th through the 22nd, only other OV he took was a cursory trip to Oregon State, which, I mean, with his offer sheet and his brother's offer sheet, they were never going to Oregon State. But They took the OV together. Bo has a bunch of officials set up, including Washington, including Oregon, Cal as well. I think he's going out to Tennessee at some point, or at least that's what the plan is. Again, I'd be really, really surprised if all of these OVs start to occur. Because if you check out the commitment interview I did with Niko, which is free to read over at OUinsider.com, one of the things that Niko mentioned was that his parents were on board with OU from the moment they stepped on campus for that first visit and got the chance to meet the OU staff. He said they wanted us to go there from the first visit. Us, not me, us. So, knowing that, like with that knowledge filed away, OU has the parents' enthusiastic stamp of approval. They're naturally going to want both of their boys together, and they're going to want them at a place and with a staff that they trust. Again, there's so many reasons why it feels like the easiest thing in the world to just project Bo Jandreau into this class for Oklahoma.
And it speaks to the level of commitment to his culture that Brent Venables has. Now, your culture is not going to be for everybody, but when you set a solidified culture, that speaks volumes that, hey, look, we've got a foundation, we've got a backbone, we're going to stand on it, and this is what we're going to sell to you. That sounds really, really good to parents when they know that their kids are going somewhere that is already stationed, or has set itself up in a way that is concrete.
A 918 listener, Duck Slayer in the 918 to be specific, says, any hope these guys will step up to 4-star status? Hard to get excited over 3 stars. Get me excited. Again, folks, recruiting rankings are very fluid as a general rule, and also you should take recruiting rankings with a grain of salt when all of these guys, as rising seniors, still have an entire season of high school football to play that can affect their stock for the better or for the worse. I'll be honest, it's harder right now, and Niko himself acknowledged this. He said, my tape doesn't really reflect who I am as a football player, I don't feel like, because he did deal with some injuries last fall. It's harder right now to watch Niko's junior tape and say, yep, 4-star. But he absolutely is somebody that can get there with a strong senior season. He's got the physical tools to do so, and he will have opportunities for the level of production down at Hamilton High that he's going to need in order to put himself in that conversation. I think Bo, to me, is a 4-star off tape right now. I mean, I don't know when the last time you watched him on tape was, Grayson, but he's an awesome linebacker.
Yeah.
And again, it says something, even if you just look at the profile and you see the 3-star label, okay, maybe you're not all that enthused. Maybe the needle isn't moved for you. But then you look at the schools that have offered Bo, and it's not just Oklahoma, but it's Arizona State, and it's Tennessee, and it's Texas, and it's Oregon, and it's Notre Dame, and Nebraska, right? If everybody wants the kid, that generally is a pretty reliable indicator that you're not looking at your standard run-of-the-mill 3-star.
Yeah, and I'll get you excited aside from stars, because recruiting kids out of college is as inexact a science it is as drafting quarterbacks in the NFL. The scheme fit for these two is so perfect that it's easy to project development and easy to project improvement just because they fit so perfectly. Especially in the case with Niko, who, look, is Niko a better player than his brother? Okay, maybe not. But I think in this system, this is a system that is set up the best to get the most out of him. And when it comes to Bo, I mean, you're talking about inserting a linebacker with the best linebacker coaching room in the damn country when it comes to that. So, stars aside, just in terms of the perfect marriage, you've got it right here, and that should lend itself to development over the course of 2-3 years.
Arizona Brooks on the text line says, I live less than 30 minutes from Hamilton High. I'm going to have to go watch these dudes. Hey, can I crash, Arizona Brooks?
Are you going to make a trip out there to Chandler?
I might have to. I mean, 2 for 1, right? At least you assume. You assume that by the time their senior year kicks off, both Niko and Bo are going to be committed to Oklahoma. That's a very safe assumption to make. So I'll probably have to get down there to Arizona at some point to see him. That's a difficult trip to make because historically speaking, Oklahoma has never really had a road game that's anywhere near Phoenix, Arizona, which is always the thing I look for when I start to map out my schedule is, okay, where are we going to be going and who's in the region? Like, for instance, this fall, Oklahoma is going to be going up to Temple, playing in Philly.
I swear,
right?
If you tell me you're going to drive up there.
I haven't ruled it out. I haven't ruled it out.
There's no way you're driving from Blanchard, America to Philadelphia.
You'd be surprised what I'm capable of when it comes to road tripping.
Clearly.
So, I mean, that's the first thing that I look for as early as like June or July, right, is, okay, Oklahoma's going to Philadelphia to play a road game. Who that Friday could I go and see that is in the vicinity? Offhand, I don't know what the answer is right now. I know they've offered a couple dudes from up in Pennsylvania, Reston Lehman, Ashton Blatt, but I don't know who that would be at this point. That's a conversation for a later date. Slim Brady on the text line says, Niko's got to be like 5'10". No, he's absolutely not. Niko is at least 6 feet, just judging off the photos and height relative to some of the folks he's posed alongside. Like, Brent Venables isn't even 6 feet tall. And so when you see anybody that's taller than Brent Venables in a picture, that's your measuring stick. If they're shorter than Brent Venables, they're not 6 feet. If they're taller than Brent Venables, they are taller than 6 feet. Niko's in the neighborhood of 6 foot, 6'1". Bo's a little bit bigger. Bo's about 6'2".
And let's keep in mind that these two are still 17 years old, which means they're going to get taller most likely.
They may. 4-star Evan from Blanchard
that's
says,
the one I was going to read.
These blue chip supremacists are wild. Be thankful somebody actually wants us after that drought. That's a good label. Don't be a blue chip supremacist, folks.
Is that going to be one of our buzzwords now?
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, I think it should be.
We will accuse people of blue chip supremacy and cancel them accordingly if they start coming at us with wild texts. Arizona Brooks said, come with it. Okay, so I'm crashing with Arizona Brooks when I head down there to Chandler, Arizona.
One more before we get out of here. Brian and Bixby. I always think Parker has a head on his shoulders until he starts talking crazy like driving to Philly.
Probably won't happen. I'll acknowledge that. Probably not a drive.
But the fact that you're
haven't
considering
100% ruled it out, though.
The fact that you're considering it is a problem.
405-651-3439. Hey, Bo Jandreau, yeah, is he probably coming along to the University of Oklahoma at a certain point? Absolutely. But all in all, it's not just Bo Jandreau that the Sooners are looking good with at the linebacker position, and this could wind up being a very, very impressive linebacker class for the Sooners when all is said and done. The latest on another linebacker prospect that the Sooners are starting to look real good for on the other side. Keep it right here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, and we'll return.
I'm Noble McIntyre, and I'm the father of 3 daughters. Protecting them has been my highest priority.
Protecting the vulnerable should be the responsibility of all of us. Every year, thousands enter residential treatment facilities seeking safety and care.
Reports of abuse, including sexual and physical abuse of minors in their care, have plagued these institutions for years. Major facilities have been investigated, shut down, and staff convicted, but the problem persists.
If you or a loved one have suffered abuse, call McIntyre Law at 405-777-7000.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
364-9999, it's Home Creations. Looking for a fun and adventurous way to spend the summer? Join the Sooner Theater for an unforgettable summer camp experience. The Sooner Theater has 2-week, half-day sessions for students entering kindergarten through 6th grade. Whether your child loves acting, dancing, singing, or magic, these camps have something for everyone. With sessions in June and July, your child can explore creativity, make new friends, and have a blast performing on stage for friends and family. Don't miss out. Sign up now for a summer full of fun and adventure through the performing arts. Visit SoonerTheater.org to learn more and register today.
Do you like to stand out in a crowd while wearing the best in OU apparel? The Jimmy Austin Pro Shop carries the best brands you can wear to work or even dress up events. Lines such as Lululemon, Travis Mathew, FootJoy, Greg Norman, Grayson, or Turtleson with the OU and Jimmy Austin logo are sure to catch everyone's eye. You don't have to be a golfer to shop at Jimmy Austin. They also do corporate special orders for you and your company. Call them today, 405-325-6716, or visit theougolfclub.com for more information.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KRF app today to listen from anywhere.
Mike Steele here for Lasher Home Comfort Systems, your trusted home comfort experts in the Oklahoma City metro area. Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
Experience the confidence you deserve at Confidence Ford of Norman, where we're dedicated to providing our customers with exceptional service. That means unbeatable offers on 2024 Ford models right now. Save an incredible $10,000 on a Ford Bronco or F-150 XLT, and save even bigger on an Expedition XLT with $18,000 in savings. Drive the Ford you've always wanted from a team that puts you first. Visit us today at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, part of the Cavender Auto family, where confidence is Cavender.
Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line available to you all day at 405-651-3439. Doug in Norman says, Parker, I ordered the Phil Steele magazine today. 1 for myself, 2 for my son, and 1 for you. They'll be delivered sometime shortly after June 1st. I'll drop it off when they arrive, supposedly at the newsstands around July 1st. Doug, you are the man. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, as always, and thanks for hitting us with a text. This 405 listener says, Parker is legit, Grayson. He drove to Vegas and back a couple of years ago. I did, but I was not alone. Travis Davidson did make that trip with me. A very memorable trip at that. We had quite a time. We drove all the way back in one clean shot overnight.
How many hours is that?
That was all told. Let me think here. We left Vegas about 2:30. We got into OKC about 9:30 in the morning. So you're talking 18, 19 hours.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing in Vegas anyway?
We were covering the OT7 national tournament.
Okay.
The very first year that they held it out in Vegas. It was great. Got some great intel on a myriad of OU targets that were out there, including, here's a blast from the past, Tassilia Kana. That was the weekend I met Tassilia Kana. Fun stuff. Chris from Knoxville says, I drove from Knoxville to Bridgeton, Maine, and it was over 18 hours due to traffic. Blanchard to Philly, barring no traffic issues, would be 3 hours longer than what I endure. 10 out of 10 would not recommend, Parker, but you do you, brother. Thanks for the insight, Chris. I will keep that in mind when I am budgeting out my travel for the fall.
Because, like, okay, so how much money in gas is that when you're taking these long trips?
Okay, so you got to think about it this way. 1 tank of gas, give or take, will get you about 300, 350 miles.
Yes.
At least it will in my car.
Yeah.
So if you are making a road trip that is, for instance, what's a good example of a trip that we've done in the past? Brian Clinton and I drove out to Provo, Utah for the BYU game. 3 tanks of gas, thereabouts. It was about 900 miles, maybe closer to 1,000. But that's like, it's like $100 in gas there.
Yeah, give or take.
$100 in gas back. It's cheaper than a plane flight.
That is, yeah.
Brian and Bixby says, yeah, but Travis is a degenerate gambler, so he would have made that trip anyway. I'm trying to think. Did Travis do any gambling while we were out there? We did hit the casino very briefly. I think, nope, you know what he did? He placed a futures bet on Oklahoma to win the College World Series. That's what it was, because it was that weekend that they were playing Virginia Tech in the Super Regional. We were getting ready to ship out from Vegas when we watched Oklahoma wrap up that Game 3 win to punch the ticket to the College World Series. And then we were planning a trip up to Omaha on the way back. That was a fantastic couple of weeks because we went out to Vegas and then immediately following, like 5 days after the fact, we got in the car again and drove up to Omaha to spend a week and a half at the CWS. It was great. Would have been better if Oklahoma would have knocked off Ole Miss in the championship series, but you can't always get what you want, right? A 405 listener says, is that when you realized Cecilia Kana had a bowl cut? I mean, I knew that already, but got to see it in person that weekend in Vegas.
There's nothing like seeing somebody in real life with a bowl cut.
Ivan Carrion's got a legendary bowl cut, man.
Does he actually?
Oh, yeah. I mean, believe me, man. The second Ivan Carrion showed up to Oklahoma camp in June of 2023, I knew exactly who he was. Exactly who he was. Because, you know, the combination of bowl cut and height, I didn't even, like, I'd never talked to Ivan Carrion at that point. Really hadn't kept up with him. He was committed to Texas Tech, right? So he was just kind of a guy that I knew, okay, there's that big kid out in West Texas that's committed to Texas Tech. But knew immediately when he showed up, because how often do you see a 6'6" dude with a bowl cut taking reps at camp at wide receiver at that? Let me pay off the tease here. With Niko Jandreau on board, Oklahoma, in all likelihood, is going to get his twin brother Bo at the linebacker position. Love Bo on tape. Think he has 4-star ability. Think that's probably what he will be by the end of the cycle. But the Sooners are also trending very, very well, Grayson. With another linebacker target, I threw in a future cast this morning in collaboration with a couple of my colleagues over at Rivals. I like Oklahoma to land Ben Wenzel, the 3-star linebacker out of Appleton North High School in the state of Wisconsin. He was quiet about it, but he was on campus for an unofficial visit Monday. He's going to be back for an OV next month at the Champ U Barbecue. He acknowledged to my friend and colleague Greg Smith this morning that going into OV season, OU is his clear number 1. His only OVs will be to Oklahoma and to Wisconsin, which oddly has not even offered Ben Wenzel yet. 6'3", 218 pounds. What is there to like from where you stand about Ben Wenzel?
So a couple of things first. Number one thing first. 6'3", 217-pound linebacker from Appleton, Wisconsin. What the hell are you doing, Badgers? How have y'all not offered this guy? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But in terms of him, let me tell you why Wisconsin should offer him and why Oklahoma fans should be excited about him. Dude plays with his hair on fire. But he's also so technically smart about it. And one of the things that I noticed when watching his highlight tape, he fills holes so perfectly. Now,
Pause. Continue.
Jeez. Who does that perfectly remind you of? A guy that could just fill in the gaps just soundly and always seems to be in the right spot.
Danny Stutzman.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he has a natural I think he's more naturally better in coverage than Danny Stutzman. But, and I think I don't know why that is, but it just looks that way on tape. But in terms of a guy who can take over that mantle, and a guy, again, who, if you get him, is coming into the best coached linebacker room in the entirety of the United States, this could be a guy you project could be all SEC type of guy. Because he's got the skill, he's got the speed, sideline to sideline, he's got the size, he's great in coverage. So there's a lot to love. And if you're Wisconsin, I don't know why you're so late to the party with a guy who literally is in your state.
I don't understand it either, because on tape this should be a guy that the Badgers are all over. Weird deal that they haven't officially offered him, but they're, I guess, waiting on the OV to extend it. But Oklahoma has the upper hand right now for Ben Wenzel. That's clear. That's been solidified with the visit on Monday. He is an old school linebacker, man. I love watching Ben Wenzel's tape. Love it, because what he is, he's just a pure inside backer. And like you mentioned it, right, his instincts are exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
And actually exchanged messages with somebody in the Switzer Center earlier today who told me we think he has the best instincts in the entire class at linebacker.
I believe it.
And it shows up on tape. But, man, he's already 6'3", 220, right? So you're imagining he's going to add another 10, 15, even 20 pounds of weight, probably play in that 240 range eventually. And, man, he's the type of guy where you just – when you watch him on tape, everything about him just screams old school cowboy collar type thumper of a dude. And – yeah, there's some Danny Stutzman to the way that he plays, but Danny Stutzman, he was a little bit of a unicorn, man. Like, yes, thumper to be certain, inside backer, but also has the ability and will have the ability at the NFL level to play outside backer because of the speed and the ability to play well in coverage. There's not as much of that on Ben Wenzel's tape. Not necessarily to question his ability to do that, but it's just not as conspicuous when you watch the highlights. But I am all for having a linebacker in the room that's just going to be an absolute menace of a run defender.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. He will come downhill with some fury and pop somebody in the mouth.
A texter in the 405. Just because you're recruiting a white linebacker doesn't automatically mean he reminds you of Danny Stutzman. Stupid take. Let me hold on. Let me push back on that. Have I ever compared Bo Jandreau to Danny Stutzman? No, I have not. I just said the one characteristic of the way he always seems in the right spot and fills the run gaps reminds you of the dude who that was his best trait. That was Danny Stutzman's best trait in my mind.
I'll give you another one if you want to play the race card.
It has nothing to do with the fact that he's white.
Yeah, no, look, I'll give you another one, though. I think there's plenty of similarity to Kobe McKenzie as well. Kobe McKenzie, as a senior in high school, was already very, very developed. I think he was playing at like 240, 245, so he was even bigger than Ben Wenzel is. You'd think he'll be like 225, 230 by his senior year of high school this fall. But Kobe McKenzie, very similarly, was a guy where, could you question the coverage ability based on what there was to judge off film? Certainly. Like, that was a fair concern to have. But the one thing you absolutely couldn't question is that when it came to defending the run, he was a force. And he hit hard. Nobody wanted to run downhill against that kid because if you saw him, if you got the handoff and were staring down Kobe McKenzie in the A-gap, it was over. I mean, he was going to erase you. And it's kind of the same phenomenon with Ben Wenzel.
Yeah.
This is such a wild text. Drew and Flowermouth. When will OU schedule a home-and-home with Arizona State? Those Sun Devil shotties.
Need
a couple of very suggestive emojis on the tail end of that text.
Yeah, Drew. We gotta do Drew, you scaring me over here, dog.
Oh,
I mean, your point is well taken.
About the Arizona State shotties?
You know, that might be a story from off air.
Yeah, no, you've brought this up before.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I had or not.
Uh-huh. CD from Hockley says, Ben Wenzel, never seen or heard of him. From Wisconsin, I'll bet he's white. That he is, folks.
Yes, he is very much white, which has nothing to do with my analysis.
One of them Swiss cheese linebackers. Cotton County Bubba asks, high motor guy? Oh, yeah. Real high motor guy. Strong work ethic. Coach on the field type of dude. Sneaky athletic, you might say. 405-651-3439. We're having a good time. This listener says, have we heard anything about James Nesta's progress? Yeah, good things about James Nesta's progress. Obviously, he was never a guy that was going to factor prominently into the picture in 2024 because of what Oklahoma had existing at linebacker in terms of top-end talent and depth. So he took a red shirt that was fully expected. You'll see James Nesta this fall. I don't know how much. Fall camp will determine that, but he was a guy that I know for a fact was Scout Team Player of the Week several times throughout the 2024 season, and the word from within was that he made big strides this offseason and was one of the eye-openers throughout spring ball. So expecting more of James Nesta.
So what would be James Nesta's role? Would it just be a rotational inside linebacker?
Yeah,
is
more
that what
than
we're thinking?
likely.
Okay.
I will say, like, based on what we saw from him in high school, I also wouldn't be too shocked if Oklahoma found a way to get him rushing the passer a little bit. Because he was a really good pass rusher in high school. So I don't know what that looks like, especially with Brent Venables taking back over as the defensive play caller, the addition of Wes Goodwin to the staff. Maybe you find situational opportunities to deploy a jackbacker a la Nick Benito from 2019 to 21 at Oklahoma. But James Nesta is a guy that can do a little bit of everything and do it all very well. So excited about his progression moving forward. Drew England says, well, if we're comparing this guy to Kobe McKenzie, may not be such a good comparison because we haven't seen a lot of productivity out of Kobe yet. Okay, that's fair. You've seen Kobe make an impact, and I also think it's fair to concede that Danny Stutzman and Kip Lewis have been dogs at linebacker the last 2 years. So Kobe McKenzie has been playing third fiddle, I suppose you could say, to those two, which is fine because Danny Stutzman is an NFL linebacker. Kip Lewis will be an NFL linebacker. Again, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll dig into more OU football and recruiting and answer more of your texts here on the other side. Let's hit a quick break and hear from our sponsors. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. We'll be back.
The word is spreading, and the Ref Army is growing. Keep telling your friends and family that there's only one station for true Sooner fans, and that's the Ref Radio Sports Network, and worldwide on the KREF app.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like Randy Rogers Band, May 16th. Jay Leno and Arsenio Hall, June 6th.
My wife and I go to the supermarket, and the clerk says, do you want a bag for that? No, we're going to eat it here, okay?
Nick Swartzen, June 7th.
If a girl's driving, I never call shotgun. I'm like trunk, glove compartment.
And Sawyer Brown, July 11th.
Miles and miles under the sun.
Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
That twinge in your knee isn't going to wait until Monday, and neither do we. At Orthostat, we've expanded, so you get better hours, better facilities, and the same great care. Open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. Whether it's sprains, strains, fractures, or joint pain, from knuckles to knees and every joint in between, our same-day, affordable care gets you back to life faster. Visit OuchOrthostat.com to learn more.
At Primrose Funeral Service, we have been compassionately serving families for over 80 years. Do your loved ones a favor by pre-planning your funeral and cemetery arrangements. With pre-planning, Primrose can help eliminate the difficult decisions at a difficult time, because nobody should plan for a loss at the same time they are experiencing one. Our sincere commitment is to make things a little easier for you and your family. So contact Primrose Funeral Service at 405-321-6000 or visit them online at primrosefuneralservice.com.
Memorial Day deals are here at Eskridge Honda. Take $2,500 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ridgeline RTL. Plus, get 1.99% APR. You get both during our Memorial Day deals at our new location, 89th and I-35, or online at eskridgehonda.com.
$2,500 off MSRP on stock number 250624. 1.99% APR for 24 to 36 months. WAC through Honda Financial Services. See dealer for details. Offer ends 5/31/25.
Hi, I'm Tanner Mordecai with the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm here to share my experience with the team at Mitchell's Jewelry. They came highly recommended, and my experience could not have been any better. I worked directly with the owner, Newt Mitchell, and he helped me design the perfect ring for my future bride. I was confident I picked the right one with the help from the great people at Mitchell's. Anytime my friends ask for suggestions, I know where to send them, and I'm telling you the same. If you want a great experience and the perfect ring, you can trust the team at Mitchell's Jewelry. Shop with them in Norman or check out their website or socials.
It doesn't seem possible, but we're celebrating our 50th anniversary at Markham's Nursery this spring. Back in 1975, our family started our business down on the farm in Washington, Oklahoma. A lot of things have changed since then, but the honest and appreciative way Bill and Shree serve their customers hasn't changed a bit. Seasoned gardener or just getting started, we can help make your landscape or garden a success. Come celebrate our 50th with the folks who know how to grow in Oklahoma, Markham's Nursery.
Markham's Nursery, just add the sun.
For over 20 years, Purple Wave Auction has been the trusted leader in online auctions, offering the easiest way to buy and sell equipment. From bulldozers to backhoes and combines to cranes, we host multiple weekly auctions in construction, ag, and fleet equipment. With our no reserve format and sell where it sits approach, you can bid on local equipment without waiting for far off auction dates. Get registered for free and start bidding today at purplewave.com.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org.
Oh, we're having a great time on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, I'd road trip to Philly with Parker. That's what I like to hear, Gunny. I'm not sure that could work, though, because we have a strict no-smoking policy in my vehicle. I wouldn't want to deprive you for that long. So, we may have to caravan. Get on board with that? We can have a smoking vehicle and a non-smoking vehicle.
I mean, if you can make it to your destination before 4:20, you should be okay.
That is true. That's a good point. Kyle from Southsaw says, people forget Kobe McKenzie was an integral part of that goal line stand against Texas. He's a great run stopper. If Ben Wenzel is compared to Kobe in that aspect, I feel great about his upside. Yeah, and to be clear, and I should clarify this going back to Drew England's text, when I make player comparisons, I'm talking about their playing style, physical similarities. Like, if you turned on the tape and grayed out everybody to shadows, who would they remind you of? I see some Danny Stutzman with Ben Wenzel, but I also see some Kobe McKenzie. I'm not trying to say Ben Wenzel will be a guy that exactly mirrors Kobe McKenzie's collegiate production, and we get caught in that trap all too easily, right? You'll hear an NFL comparison for a guy, and you think, oh, this guy's going to be the next Eli Manning or whatever. No, not necessarily. Whoever's making that comparison likely just thinks, this is who this guy reminds me of as a football player.
It's a traits-based statement.
That is correct. A 405 listener says, Parker, please tell us about DeZaphon Walker. Have we talked about DeZaphon Walker?
We talked about DeZaphon Walker, I think, on Monday.
It might have been on Friday.
Or Friday,
yeah.
one of the two.
Yeah, immediately following that. I think we did talk about him on Friday, but we'll talk about him again. Big-bodied back from Peculiar, Missouri, Ray-Peck High School. 6 feet, 205 pounds. He's got some burst despite the size. He's not just a downhill guy. Really solid change of direction. Some breakaway speed. Not elite speed, but if if he gets some space, it's a problem.
Serviceable.
Uh-huh. Top 4 for him, right? Or I should say top 5 now that Oklahoma's in the mix, is OU, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Kansas, and Kansas State. Not necessarily in that order, obviously. But it's going to be interesting for me to see whether or not Oklahoma gets him on the OV slate for that June 6th through 8th weekend. Because as of right now, he has Kansas State scheduled for that weekend. And he has Nebraska scheduled for the weekend of June 20th through the 22nd. Oklahoma has communicated to him, we would like to have you in town June 6th or June 20th. Knowing what I know of that recruitment and the tone that Nebraska has set, I do not think he'll be bumping that Nebraska OV on the 20th. I do think it's a distinct possibility he bumps that Kansas State OV for a trip to Oklahoma on June 6th through the 8th. So that is what you need to be looking out for DeZaven Walker. He has said, I want to OV to Oklahoma. I'm going to make it happen one way or another. If it needs to be midweek or we need to figure something out, we'll do that. But definitely going to reevaluate some things with the schools that are already in my top group to see if we can make things work out feasibly to be able to get down to OU before I make my decision. So he has a lot of respect for what Oklahoma has done over the years and some of the outstanding running backs that have come through the program. Adrian Peterson, DeMarco Murray, Joe Mixon, etc. And he wants to check it out. Never been to campus before. So he's flying blind as far as OU is concerned right now. That can go one of two ways, and there's really no way of knowing. Right? James Nesta, Isaiah Autry, Cade McIntyre, Heath Ozida. You can cite so many recent examples from over the years of guys that showed up once to Oklahoma, loved it, decided they were shutting it down and committing, despite interest from a variety of other schools in the mix as well. But conversely, it might also be a situation where Walker shows up, takes the one visit, decides, this isn't for me, and winds up going somewhere else without much of a second thought for Oklahoma. Lincoln Cure is a great example of a guy that showed up once and never again. So really no way of knowing where Oklahoma ultimately falls with DeZaven Walker until he takes the OV, but I do expect the OV to happen. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, Parker, you'd have to stop for gas between here and Philly. So what, you gonna limit the smoking to gas station breaks? We might be able to work that out, Gunny. I think we could figure something out. Doug in Norman says, long drives are right up my alley. My number one son, a USC graduate, lives in the Los Angeles area, and I drive to see him twice a year. 20 hours straight through out and 20 hours straight through back. Doug, I respect the heck out of that. Because Doug is no spring chicken either.
True.
Doug is not a young man in his mid-20s like you and I. The fact that Doug is still pulling that off at his age with as much life as he has lived, very impressive. Good on you, Doug.
Here's my question, Doug. And if the answer is uncomfortable for you to say, don't worry about it. Your number one son?
I'm assuming oldest.
Does this
son.
mean your oldest, or does this mean your favorite?
I don't think Doug, like any good parent, picks favorites. The Waffler says, who is the best running back DeMarco Murray has recruited? Because we haven't had a lot of big-name guys or anybody really great since Joe Mixon. I disagree with that. I think Kennedy Brooks was awesome. I don't even think. Kennedy Brooks, objectively, when you look at what he did as a college football player at the University of Oklahoma, he was outstanding. Had he chosen to come back for his redshirt senior season at OU, and had he stayed healthy, he would have left as Oklahoma's all-time leading rusher.
Yes.
He was on track to shatter Samaje Perine's record when he decided to move on and forego his final year of eligibility to take his shot at the NFL. Kennedy Brooks is one of the most underappreciated Sooners of the 21st century. I think the most underappreciated is Jason White, but Kennedy Brooks is high up there on that list, man, especially when you look at his yards per carry average. That dude he was a silent assassin. He was not the type of dude that struck fear into the heart of the opposition because he was never really a threat to go 75 yards to the house on any
by
given
no
snap.
means was he a burner.
No, he was not a burner. But here, I'll do this for you. I'll read you his yards per carry average year over year at the University of Oklahoma. He rushed for 1,056 yards as a redshirt freshman in 2018, averaged 8.9 yards per carry. He rushed for 1,011 yards as a redshirt sophomore in 2019, averaged 6.5 yards per carry. In 2021, after a full year off of football because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, he opted out of the COVID year.
He rushed for 1,253 yards, averaged 6.3 yards per carry. Kennedy Brooks was a stud, and I don't think people realize it because he never played a down of NFL football.
And I think that's why, I think that is the genesis of that text, too, is can DeMarco Murray put a dude into the NFL that's on our television screens on Sundays?
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, Eric Gray is. Like, you see him on Sundays with the
is.
New York Giants. Now, he's not the bell cow out there, obviously. But
and he was a fifth-round pick.
Yeah, but he's carved out a nice little NFL career for himself so far, and he had a good year at Oklahoma when he was the lead back in 2022. I think there's a lot of recency bias playing into that question because Oklahoma's running back play has not been great in 2023 and 2024. DeMarco Murray has certainly utilized some weird rotations at times that leave folks understandably scratching their heads, but it must also be acknowledged that injuries to the components of that room and the individuals therein has certainly played into Oklahoma's lack of production from the backfield.
And think about it this way. If we're just going to isolate this to recruiting, which I believe was the text, is can he get these guys in? He got Javonte Barnes in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, injury-plagued tenure at Oklahoma. He also got the number one guy in the country in. He got Taylor Tatum. Now, there hasn't been a whole lot of production yet, but he's getting the dudes.
He is getting the dudes. It's time for one of them to break out. And he's got a very good chance to have that this year in his backfield with Jaden Ott as the clear RB1 heading into fall camp. This 405 listener with a wonderful text. It's fun talking about football. Man, isn't it? I love that we get to do this for 3 hours every day.
It is fun talking about football.
Christy says, KB was awesome. It was weird because he lacked physical traits, but his patience and ability to hit holes was outstanding. No joke. The best way you can sum up Kennedy Brooks' game is he just kind of had a sixth sense.
Yes.
He was just one of those running backs that got it. Whatever that looked like, man, Kennedy Brooks just got it. This listener says, Brooks had the best patience and vision I have seen in a long time. Drew from Flower Mound says he didn't recruit Kennedy Brooks. No, but Kennedy Brooks did have his most productive season when coached by DeMarco Murray.
Did DeMarco Murray recruit Ramondre Stevenson?
He did not. That would have been Jay Boulware. But again, Ramondre Stevenson is a great example of a guy that took the next step once DeMarco Murray got his hands on him.
And Ramondre Stevenson, another guy who has carved out a pretty nice NFL career for himself.
That he has. Yukon Bob says, Parker, Gunny can go the gummy route. Hey, great point. Gunny, you down for that? You down to just subsist on gummies for a day or two while we make the drive to Philly? I can get with that.
That would make that drive that much more entertaining.
Glenn from Nashville says the direct snap touchdown against Texas by Kennedy Brooks might have been the best play since the Roy Williams play in the early 2000s.
I was about to say, ask Texas what they think about Kennedy Brooks.
Yeah. He had 217 rushing yards that day.
Mm-hmm.
He tore him up.
Kyle from Sallisaw. I've driven from Sallisaw, Oklahoma to Portland, Maine, pulling a trailer. Make that drive, Parker. Why did you do that? I've been to Portland, Maine. There's no way in hell I would drive there.
I've never been to Maine. I want to go, though.
Maine's cool.
I bet it is.
It's very humid in the summertime.
Jolly Boy in Amarillo on the text line asks, or says, please tell me it's not going to be another 105 days until the next commitment. Not sure I can take the Twitter/text line meltdown. I can promise you it will not be anything close to another 105 days. In fact, it may not be another 25 days. It might not be another 5 days. I don't know. Nothing to my knowledge is that imminent, but got Niko Jandreau up pretty much out of nowhere yesterday. How far along is Bo from following in his brother's footsteps? How quickly might the Sooners wrap it up with Ben Wenzel? Once the month of June rolls around and you get OV dudes trickling in on the 6th through the 8th that weekend, how many of those guys just want to jump at the opportunity to be Sooners and join the class. It's not going to be anything close to 105 days before Oklahoma really gets this thing rolling on the recruiting trail. Hey, before we get out of here, I want to remind you that this show is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Fantastic service advisors and technicians out there, half-price oil changes on Saturdays. And obviously, they're selling GMCs, some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the market. Family-owned and operated Dorsey Jones GMC is the place to be out in El Reno. So check them out. And check us out again tomorrow. Same time, same place. We'll be right back here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios for a lot more OU football and recruiting talk with you here on Locked In. Thanks to those of you that have chimed in throughout the day on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Don't go anywhere, because although Grayson and I are done for the day, Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman take over on the other side with 3 more hours of OU sports talk. The Rush is on the way. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.